Hi there, this is Victor Counted, and this is Biblical Wisdom for Flourishing. And on today's episode, we will kind of look at Jesus as our model. And by saying that, I think it's important that we think about how we can emulate the actions of Jesus and his heart for others, and how he showed compassion and did all that he did. I think there's something about the life of Jesus that is very important, especially when we think about flourishing and the abundant life. And so today we draw a text from the book of John 13 from verse 15. And it simply says, John 13, 15, it says, "For I have given you an example, that you should do as I have done to you. For I have given you an example, that you should do as I have done for you." You know, before the cross, before the empty tomb, before the risen glory of Christ, there was a basin of water and a towel. There was the King of the universe who was kneeling to wash the feet full of birth. But it's important that we don't miss this, because Jesus, Jesus didn't give a lecture on humility. He didn't write a book about compassion. He sort of embodied it. He lived it out. And then he said, "Do as I have done." You know, in a world that kind of celebrates power and toxic masculinity, or even in a world that celebrates platforms and influence, Jesus calls us to the floor. He calls us to serve. He calls us to love. He calls us to take the low place. Why did he do that? Because that's what love looks like. Love is service. Love is serving at the floor. Love is taking the low place. Love is not a sentiment. Love is sacrifice in action. Love is compassion with a skin on it. You know, theologian N.T. Wright, in his work, he kind of reminds us that Jesus, he didn't just come to die for us. He actually came to show us how to live. His life, it's a blueprint that we should follow. His posture towards people should be our guide. And here's the thing, I believe. I think that when we follow that model, the model of Christ, as we become true Christ followers, not only are we blessed, not only are people around us blessed, we are also transformed in that process. You know, I would always never forget the definition of spiritual formation that I learned during my early years at the seminary as the process of being conformed to the image of God for the sake of others. Fixing our eyes on Jesus, modeling Christ in our lives, not only bless people around us, it also transforms us to become more like him. In fact, a number of scientific studies even somehow backs this idea up, because research all on things like empathy and pro-social behavior even shows that acts of kindness and compassion and service, they don't just help other people, they don't just help people around us, they actually boost our own mental health. I have a colleague in New Zealand, Joe Bibula, who does a lot of work around religion and cooperation and altruism. His work really supports and shows most of this. Supporting people, being kind to others, being of service wherever we find ourselves, it not only boosts our mental health, it also boosts our joy. It also boosts even our physical well-being. How? Because as you're in service, serving others, using your physical capability in service to humanity, there's something about that is enriching. But what might it look like to to wash feet this week? If I'm to ask you that question, what would washing the feet of people this week look like? Maybe it could be forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it, who has hurt you really bad. I've had experiences where I've had people that do things that make me question their confession of faith. And sometimes these are people that you would look up to as leaders, but somehow, due to the fallen nature of man, they do things that make you wonder, are you truly a follower of Christ? And so washing the feet of people this week might look like forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it. It may even mean speaking gently when your patient has been frayed. Maybe it could also be noticing the invincible people in your society. The cashier at Walmart or at the Dollar Tree, the janitor at your school. Every other week I come to my office and it's all cleaned and nice. Just noticing people who are the margins of society. Washing the feet of people this week could also mean just noticing your neighbor who lives alone, who lives by themselves. Maybe an elderly person that doesn't have anyone in their life, whose kids, grandkids are not around. And so to follow Jesus, ultimately, it's simply to imitate Christ. It's to imitate Jesus. And the world is so desperate for people who live like Christ. I hope that this week that you'll be challenged to walk more like Christ and live like Christ and be like Christ. Amen. I'll see you next week. And as Victor counted, hey, this is biblical wisdom for flourishing. Bye for now.